I recently hosted a live workshop with my friend Jeremiah Lancaster, who is the founding partner with me of the sales coaching business called hubermethod.com. We did a live workshop. We had over 400 people live in a Zoom room where we discussed sales, how to close, how to gain trust, our 6-step method. And it was a really great webinar. I hope you enjoy. We're going to play it right here live for you. And if you want to reach out to Jeremiah, go to hubermethod.com. Thanks for listening. What is the Huber method? Me and Jeremiah have been working now for several months to come up with what, in both of our experiences, what is the best way to actually think about sales and methodically build your sales strategy. I'm going to talk about these and then we're going to briefly elaborate on each. But the number one rule of sales, in my opinion, is to operate from a point of leverage, or at least act like you're operating from a point of leverage and you don't actually need the business, okay? If you're operating from a point of desperation, if you're pushy, if it's the old school sales model of, hey, here's the clipboard, here's the signature line, please sign on it, I need this business, like let's do it right now. Those days are over, those days are dead. You really need to go into a sales environment thinking, you're going to qualify that lead and you're going to ask that lead enough questions that makes them feel like they're kind of getting interviewed as well. And that if our circles overlap, we'll end up working together. Meaning, hey, I don't work with everybody. I don't need to work with everybody. I do a great job. You seem like a good customer. Let's have a conversation and see if our circles overlap. And then if it does, I'm sure we'll have a long and fruitful relationship. Okay, that's step one. Number two, show that you're an expert, meaning in a non-arrogant way. You're not going to say something ridiculous. You are going to show them and tell them why you can be trusted. Okay. In my self-storage pitch, which we're going to talk about in a little bit later, we're trying to call storage. The first thing I say on the phone right away, as soon as I talk to somebody is, hey, my name is Nick. I'm with a company called Bolt Storage. We own and operate 62 facilities, over 1.9 million square feet, and we've acquired 10 properties in the last 3 years in your state. Okay, what does that do? That's me laying out the facts that, hey, maybe I should listen to this person. They're an expert. They're kind of a big deal. Okay. Then the next step is to talk about the negatives. Too many salespeople, they're always just constantly selling what is amazing. They're talking about what works and they don't do a good enough job. And Jeremiah, feel free to butt in and elaborate on any of these, or we can just let you kind of point out what I mixed up. But they don't do a good enough job actually telling folks why it might not work, or managing expectations with a timeline, or talking about all the things that could go wrong. And when you start to do those things, I have a contractor buddy. I have two friends, one contractor friend who runs around over-promising work, saying that they're going to be able to do it at a low price, and constantly saying that they can do it on a really quick timeline. And I have another contractor who goes and sells work by being very realistic with clients. He's like, hey, look, you know how this goes. I'm going to do everything in my power to save you money. I've got a lot of experience. I have an amazing subcontractor base, and I'm very, very good at what I do. But this is construction. Things happen. I'm going to rip out your shower and I might find something that could cost us more money. These are the things that could go wrong. These are the things that I've seen go wrong on things like this. Our timeline, I think if things go really well, we can remodel this bathroom in 6 weeks, but it might take a little bit longer to get people on site. We might have some problems with scheduling. We might not be able to get the tile. We might not be able to get the vanity in time. And it could be a 12-week process. Like, how would you feel about that? And what he does is he really builds trust that way. He shows that he's an expert, and he also talks about the negatives so that people are like, wow, this guy's worried about this stuff so that I don't have to. Then, as Jeremiah likes to say, I'm qualifying the person, okay? Too many salespeople, they're spending, and go ahead, I'm gonna let you touch on this one, Jeremiah.
I think qualifying the person is so critical. And back to, I guess, like talking about the negatives, I think more often than not, I listen to sales calls and salespeople are always trying to talk about how great it will be once we use your solution. And the challenge here is that it doesn't always go to plan. And that's true in general contracting. That's true in selling software. It's definitely true in selling local home services. It's true in every business. And an easy way to get ahead of that is tell people, here's all the reasons why this won't work out. And here's the reasons why it went wrong for other people. That also helps build the filter on who's going to be a good customer or not. And that lends itself to how do we actually qualify the person. Allow that person to start validating, am I even a good fit, right? Yep. Change seats. They can start to ask questions. If this is a good thing for me, for my business, will this fit for me? Whenever that starts to happen, two kind of like really interesting things kind of click for them. One, they're starting to kind of like sell themselves, right? They start to ask these questions and they say, well, I do need this and I do need it by this date, and it will help me, accomplish these things. And they start to really sell themselves on how or why that solution actually works. The other thing really interesting that happens whenever they qualify this is that they start to understand maybe what the capabilities of the solution are and what they're not. I think oftentimes people are looking for, these silver bullets or, one thing to cure all the problems. If we start telling people what the negatives or what we don't actually do for them, this will allow them to self-qualify them out and say, actually, it's not the right price, it's not the right fit for me. And you don't want to do business with those customers anyways. At the end of the day, those are the people that you're going to want to probably fire in a couple months because they weren't a good fit initially and you didn't spend enough time qualifying them out of your process rather than focusing on the qualification in.
I have a saying to almost everybody on my team that stress in business is simply unmet expectations. I'm going to say that again. Stress in business is simply unmet expectations. Somebody else is expecting something of you because of generally a previous promise that you have made, and you're not delivering on what you told them you could do. We see all over the internet where people say, if only all these small businesses would just do what they said they were going to do, they would earn a lot more business and they'd be, maybe even good at what they do. And I don't think the problem is that obviously these people are trying to do what they said they're going to do. Many times they're not actually managing expectations the right way and talking to people about how it's realistically like, and they ended up attracting the wrong clients. They're not, they're not letting the people who expect things that are unreasonable disqualify themselves. And then what happens is these people start to sell themselves. I have a really good example of this. So in the self-storage business, I've sat right here at this very desk in my office. I'm in my home now, and I've sold folks on investing with me in self-storage. I've sold them on investment. Most of these calls these investors take, all the person, the sponsor, the person who's selling the deal, all they talk about is the positives. They're saying, self-storage is the most amazing asset class. We're diversified among all these tenants. There's only 4 square feet per person in this market. The last 8 years, self-storage has outperformed all these other areas. They're just constantly talking about all the amazing things about self-storage. I talk about the negatives. I say, hey, real estate's pretty darn cyclical. Interest rates could go up and we could, not make as much money as we thought we were going to make. Home transactions could slow down and we could not be as full as we thought we were going to be. I can promise you that I'm going to try my best and I'm going to keep these properties clean and I'm going to focus on renting units, but things go wrong. There's a lot of things that are out of my control. These are the things that are out of my control. And I'll start to talk about the negatives. I'm kind of qualifying the person as well while I'm doing this. And then I flip the script right then and I lay the hammer down, which Jeremiah has really taught me to do this well. I just said a lot of, and I'll just role play that I'm talking to you, Jeremiah. I just said a lot of, frankly, bad things about real estate and investing. Like sometimes I get in these calls and I actually scare people out of doing these deals. Why do you want to be a self-storage investor? And what makes you think that I'm going to do a good job managing this money? And then I shut up and I stopped talking. So I showed that I was an expert. I talked about the negatives. I qualified them. And then I flipped the script with one question. Why are you interested in investing in self-storage, given what I just told you? And I'd be quiet. And it's literally been, I've had this happen so many times that the next 10 minutes of the call, they go on and on and on, talking themselves into doing the deal with me. It's magic.
I think it's such a critical thing. And I think the thing that helps you win there is like, that silence is really important. Whenever you start to ask questions and start to almost disqualify your own question, why would you want to invest in self-storage? It could be a great opportunity for you. This is where most people decide to go out and pitch. Here's all the reasons why. Here's what you should do. Here's the investment opportunity. We're going to deliver this amount of IRR. Here's all the other happy people that have done this. But instead, sitting back and letting people really talk and think through why is this good for them can work in any kind of situation, whether it's an investor, right, or someone buying a product or a service.
Big news, guys. I created a free PDF that details my method on how I analyze a self-storage facility and figure out what it's worth. Give me a pen, the back of a napkin, and a couple metrics, and I can figure out about what the property is going to be worth to me. If you want to download this PDF, click in the show notes, the first link, and you can give me your email address and you get a email right away with 4-page PDF that outlines exactly how I think about underwriting or giving my initial analysis on a self-storage facility. Again, click the link in the show notes and you're going to get that document for free. This episode of the Nick Huber Show is brought to you by RE CostSeg. If you want to maximize your bonus depreciation and minimize your tax liability, make sure to do a cost segregation study on real estate you've recently acquired. RE CostSeg offers the lowest priced, fully engineered studies in the business, and you get a virtual site visit with a quick turnaround. They did 30 plus cost seg studies for me over the past year, including a short-term rental along with my self-storage facilities. And I'm also an investor in the business along with my good friend and CPA Mitchell Baldridge, who you all know. To learn more about how bonus depreciation works, listen to episode 75 of the Nick Huber Show or visit recostseg.com to go ahead and get a free proposal that outlines the cost of the study and your potential savings. Thanks again, recostseg.com.